Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm your host, Javier Proenza. Every week, my guests and I share the answers we found to the questions we have. Join us as we explore and expand our worldview and ask what's my thesis. And today, my guest is Clare Gatto. Is it like cat in Spanish?
Cat in Italian, yeah.
Oh, gatto.
Yeah,
So
two
yeah,
T's.
yeah. So it has the stronger
hmm
T.
Yep.
Like it's funny how pizza. Anytime you have two letters like that. So you're Italian?
Yeah. My dad is Italian. My mom is German. So I'm just,
Like how many generations American are you?
on my mom's side, three. My dad's dad moved over from Italy. So I'm from Ohio is the real answer.
You're from Ohio? No, no. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just trying
Yeah.
to. I could no, because
No,
I have a connection to Italy. I wasn't not judging. I'm just trying to figure out.
no.
Actually, the real judgmental question that I had, which was cartoonish, was like, is your dad like, hey, or is he like, hey, like,
Uh, have
you
you
get what I'm
seen
saying?
Parks and Rec?
Yeah. I just don't remember the Italian character. Maybe
There's
you can
not
remind me.
one. My dad
Okay.
is like Ron Swanson, but
Oh, okay.
like the Italian cigar smoking version, like
All right. That
gold
sounds
chain
very.
mustache.
And he's from the old country. Did he grow up there?
My grandpa did, yeah.
And your
And
dad did
then my dad grew up in New Jersey.
in New Jersey? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's like I'm sure everybody has a complete misconception of who your parents are now. Or is it, or do you think oh okay, maybe they do.
I mean, they're he's a funny, quiet man. When he makes a joke, he's making a joke, but he's
But
good
does it
people.
no, I'm not I'm
Yeah.
just trying I'm just saying that like when you say New Jersey Italian, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I
I'm sure we
mean,
have
when
no
you
idea what the man is actually like, and we're just getting this like cartoon in our head, you know what I mean?
this like
And that's
it's
not at all
like
your fault because you misdescribed him. I'm just saying like
yeah.
there's baggage.
He says things like human and get the scissors from the draw. Like he's from
Human.
he's from like Jersey City and then Newark and then a small town outside of Cranbrook. So outside of Newark called
Yeah.
Cranford. But yeah, they're Jersey Italian. We love to see it. And then my mom is from Ohio and they met out in Missouri actually and moved back to Ohio.
Yeah.
Then I grew up there.
That's cool. My sister spent some time in Ohio. And then how did you end up in Michigan? Are you in Detroit or am
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
in
assuming?
Detroit.
Okay.
I moved
Because
to Detroit for grad school.
Gerald was actually tricking me. He was in California, and I I was like he was in LA at the same time zone. And I was like, wait, I didn't expect to have someone from LA on right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Um.
How
Oh
did you get
yeah.
to
So
Detroit?
grad school,
Grad school, and where was that?
Cranbrook. That's how I know Chelsea.
Is that like a? I mean, that I know the name. Is that a good school? I
It is. It.
is it like impressive to like people when you introduce yourself to at your parents' parties and stuff?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's one of the small grad school. It's like the small grad school outside of Detroit. It's like a really just an art grad school. It's
Oh,
tries
really?
to
Okay.
model itself after sort of like some of the German schools and the Finnish schools.
Like
Has like
that
a
being
heavy history.
Bauhaus?
Yeah,
Okay.
has like a heavy history in design, like mid-century modern design. Um, and the high school though is so it's like a grad school. Okay, first off, I'm living in Detroit. Bloomfield Hills is one of the richest suburbs in America, and it's like 20 minutes north of Detroit. And
Hmm.
that is where Cranbrook is. And within Bloomfield Hills, Cranbrook is its own gated community. And I feel like that says a lot about the school, right? It's a great school, it's a great community. Great artists come out of there, but it's definitely weird.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah. Well, because
Okay.
it's also a private boarding high school. So like Mitt Romney went there to the high school.
Okay.
And then you have this like art grad school that has like 100 art grad students just like losing their mind in like these one street of this community that looks like an English village. Like,
English
but
Village in
like,
Michigan.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it has like an English garden and like you go to like the Cranbrook house and then you walk through the gardens and
Yeah.
around to the pond and
You could never do that out
it's
here. You could never like fake an English garden because it's just so dry.
yeah.
So it's even for me, it's like it's taking me to another place, right?
I
Like,
mean,
go ahead.
yeah, it's beautiful and so like, but it's so fabricated. Even it's sort of like hilly and beautiful, and it is known that even the hills are manufactured. They like regraded the area to
Oh,
make
really?
it feel like it was rolling hills. Is
Yeah.
what that might not be a full fact. That's what the narrative is. you
Yeah.
know?
No, I mean but I mean that seems pretty plausible, especially like this is again getting into the like sort of like what I was saying about Jersey and your dad, but like I've never been to Michigan. So let's just start right there.
Yeah.
My perception of Michigan, and that may be tied into just kind of my perception of just how like Americans and just humans in general, like to me it's all right. Do you know what the Atoms for Peace program was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Atoms for Peace was when they tried to start like using nuclear weapons to like just reshape landscapes, and they wanted to like build canals with that. They tried fracking with it, but all the stuff was irradiated, right? Like it was all useless, right? Like all the things that you wanted was just like toxic, and so to me, like there's definitely like industries that come up in certain places. Like I imagine Michigan being very much of that. Not necessarily like, oh, we're gonna blow up atoms, but that sort of idea of like reshaping the landscape, like the fucking Washington Monument. No, not the Mount Rushmore. That kind of fucking spirit of like we can do it, but never asking should we. Not that the hills is on the same level as Mount Rushmore, because I know Rushmore is very problematic right now, and it should be. I'm not like minimizing that, but it's like to me, like when I think of that and I think of boomers, like that's what okay boomer means to me. And in that sense, like it's so valid. It's like fuck you. It's not ageism. It's like you guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what did you do? Um, what happened? We are here now. Thank you, boomer. You know,
You will die
but
before you see the seeds or the fruit of your labor.
yeah, I'm like, and being from Ohio, Michigan and Ohio are like they're different. They're quite different in a lot of ways. Mostly that Michigan has the Upper Peninsula, which is like stunning, like so beautiful. I went to Lake Superior for the first time and was just like, oh shit, this is the most like clear, clean water I have ever seen in my entire life. So Michigan has that, and Ohio's just like pretty flat. And I don't know. I think about Ohio as I love it, but it leaves you wanting. You know, like I'm from Columbus, and it's a big city in the Midwest, I guess, but it just feels like a town. Like it never felt like a city, and that to me,
Bro, I'm from
Ohio.
Miami, and you can tell because I started the sentence with bro. But that's the same feeling. Like it's just one continuous small town. You know the same people. It's hard to really
That
bridge out because everybody's kind of cliquish. Is that Ohio as well? Or are people social? When I got out to LA, I was like, "Damn, son, you can meet people out here." You know,
yeah,
because everybody talks to you like you're important.
yeah, yeah. I think about there's this thing that I call Midwestern niceness.
Uh-huh.
And it's where like everyone's smiling at you and they're waving to you and like it like is friendly in that way. But I grew up in Columbus and like a couple of very different neighborhoods growing up. So like on a farm in the suburbs, in this part of the city called Franklinton. So I grew up in like a couple of different areas. So I also feel like the way I feel about Columbus is I'm like, I did know lots of people in lots of different areas of the city, like out, like I said, like out on farmland with like chickens and four-wheelers, and also in like the suburbs.
Which was shit that my sister lives van life now. So
Okay.
that must have spoken to her. Now that you just clicked something in my brain.
Uh,
But yeah. So
did
I mean, yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure like I don't know. Like can you tell me a little bit more then about the differences about Detroit? Like cuz I feel like does that have rural? Because all right, I'm just gonna ask it.
so
Like no,
yeah.
because I remember I was actually in Barcelona in like 2010,
Mhm.
and there was this like school of, and I know, bougie, but like, uh, I was there was these there were these kids that were on a program and they were coming from Detroit, and I remember asking them about because that was like when things weren't going well then, right? Like,
Mhm.
am I mistaken? What I don't
No.
even
So
what happened in 2010?
I've been in Detroit for 6 years. So, and there's this thing about, there's like all sorts of narratives around Detroit. I think like you have white flight in the 60s, you have like Reagan's fucking regime in the
Yeah.
80s, and then you have the housing crash in the mid 2000s.
Wait,
And
actually, that's interesting because now I wanna. There's a piece I've only seen pictures of that Chelsea has about Reagan.
the
And
war
now
on
that you say that,
partying.
yeah, and sorry, the war on partying.
Yeah.
That's a great title. She's good with
Yeah.
that. Sorry.
Chelsea's so good with
Yeah, no,
titling
I would
and
definitely want to give her mad props on all these episodes because I wouldn't know you without her. But yeah, so okay, keep going. You
Okay,
were talking
so
Detroit and all the mythical like moments that have hit it.
yeah, so I mean, I think it's like also important for me. I'm like, I live in Detroit. I'm not from Detroit because there are all sorts
Fair enough.
of,
Fair enough.
there's so many narratives around this city, and there's so much sort of like, yeah, and there's
Yeah,
so
no,
many, right?
and I
Like we're
appreciate
familiar with them.
I
I think,
appreciate that because I didn't know you had only been there for 6 years. Because I don't know when you went
mhm,
to grad school, but
yeah.
but there was definitely I forget what it was. It was like well, it was no, you know what it was? It was the 2008 crash. It really fucked Detroit and all the like working people over there because it was a mortgage crisis. I don't exactly remember how it was
Hmm.
linked. I just
Yeah.
remember that in the news at the time, Detroit was crazy fucked. But I guess you've answered my question adequately, right? Like we can move on because you've elaborated on that being like a regular thing. Like it's a city that keeps getting hit, but I find it really important and interesting because it is a working class city, and we don't have to talk about NAFTA, but like it's I meet a lot of dudes out here, and when I mean dudes, I'm talking about dudes, right?
Hmm.
That have moved out here and they're super progressive, and they're like, "Oh my God, you don't know how bad and Trumpian it is over there, right?" And like, as someone who's from Miami and knows how Republican Miami can be, like, I also know that Miami is is the swing state. Like, without
Hmm.
Miami, Florida never just flips, right?
Hmm.
So it's funny to me when people meet me and they're like, "Oh, you're Republican? Oh, you're not Republican." Oh my God, that's also one of my favorite like microaggressions is like when people are like, "Oh, you're not Persian?"
Like, ugh.
And it's like, oh my God, now I'm like taking on other people's like racism, like
Hmm.
other races racism, or I don't know. I think I maybe have been programmed into thinking that I am Muslim, even though I'm not a practicing one. But okay, so anyway, so like to me that's interesting because I also think Michigan is not like a strictly Republican. Like it's a blue state sometimes, or is it? It's not a swing state, or
It's a
am I
swing
wrong?
state.
It's a
It's a
swing
swing
state. Yeah.
state. And it's a swing state because of Detroit and Ann Arbor and Lansing, sometimes Grand Rapids, sometimes. But it's definitely, yeah, we're in we're in Trump country for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm
Especially,
I'm from
yeah,
there too, but
yeah,
like the people.
exactly.
But my point is that like the people like my beef is with
Yeah,
people that move out here because I'm also from like I'm not judging the people from
yeah.
Michigan that come out here and then are so progressive and woke. I'm saying that my problem is when you get out here and you stop advocating for like the humanity of the people,
Yeah,
like because like okay, here is the parallel for both. In my case, like people have legitimately experienced depression. And yes, I am with people that point out that the embargo is a bad thing and it fucks with people. I'm a leftist, I'm lefter than pretty much anybody, but and I validate that, but like you have to understand also like the psychology of like people are human, right? And like one of the things that I always try to remind people is that like Republican Cubans are not homophobic necessarily because a lot of their kids are gay because Miami is a groovy town. And I think that a lot of Michigan is pro Trump because of NAFTA. And NAFTA was something that Bush couldn't pass and Bill Clinton passed. And so I'm like, bro, it makes perfect sense if your job gets taken away from you, not from a pandemic, Anyway,
yep.
that's a diatribe. But I do love that the politics are so complicated over there as they are
Hmm.
over here, right?
Yep.
So
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so then also just like the city's politics and like what it mean. Okay, yeah, I'm like, we just had elections, primary elections yesterday in
for
Detroit.
what level of government?
I'm in Hamtramck, which is a city inside of Detroit, and we voted on the mayor, city council. There was a proposal in Detroit called Proposal P that
Wait, so
would
sorry, can you
be,
back up a little bit?
yeah,
You said city within Detroit, so Detroit County?
no. So there's Hamtramck is 2 square miles, and it's an island city within Detroit city
Okay, so it's like
limits.
Coral Gables in Miami. It's like not part
Yeah.
of Miami, but it has its own. Like you have it, have to write it out. You
Yeah.
don't write Detroit on the
Yeah.
address when you're mailing
Yep.
something.
Exactly. Hamtramck's awesome though. It's super great. Detroit's amazing. So this
Coral
is,
Gables is pretty cool too.
yeah, to like rewind back to talking about just like living here and like the importance of me being like I live here, I'm not from here. It's like Detroit's one of like Detroit's motto is Detroit versus everybody. And this city is
I
like
like that shit.
the I have a I have been here for 6 years now, and I have met a lot of really really amazing people. And so actually, do I get to give my thing I want to talk about now?
Yeah, sorry. I've just realized that we've been chatting and I haven't asked you your topic. We can go long if you have the time. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't want to
So
I don't want to miss out on what you have to teach me. Go ahead.
my topic kind of like goes along with all of this. Actually, it is thinking through like the power and fluidity of collaboration. My
Okay.
practice is like really rooted in collaboration on like a bunch of different levels. And like thinking about power and ownership and authorship, and just like thinking about the power of the collective. And so living here, I have made some really amazing friends and met some really amazing means
I got you. You don't
some
even have to finish it. Go ahead.
yeah, like that are from here, that are born and raised here. And I've learned so much about this city through them and through being here. And It's a great place. I love being here. I definitely plan on staying. You know, I feel
Yeah.
really invested. And I feel really grateful to have been like welcomed, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, it's interesting because I feel like there is sort of this weird sense of just having talked to, you, Gerald, and Chelsea at this point, and then knowing, the people from Knox Library who are coming up on
yeah,
the show. Okay,
yeah,
so they're very. Are they out and out communist? Is that, or they definitely promote a lot of? I don't want to like define them because I do that on the show a lot,
yeah.
and then people are like, actually, I don't. That's not how. I'm like, oh, you're a leftist too, and they're like, ah. but but yeah, it does seem like they're like I've been meaning to look up the exact definition of mutual aid because I hear a lot of people that I respect talking about it, but it seems like there is that might be part of the resiliency that we perceive in a place like Detroit, like
Mm-hmm.
like when I'm thinking about after the 2008 crash, there was some weird shit with, oh my god, my American history is so bullshit like everybody else's. But I remember it being really important, and there was like a possible bailout. There was a fight over a bailout. The WSA was involved. It can't have gone that well because right now we have Frito Lay. You guys, the Frito Lay employees are on strike, and you guys should
Yeah.
all boycott that shit and research that. Do you know about this?
Yes, I know about this.
Okay, well, fucking, this is what I'm talking about. Tell us about it so that I can show people that people from Detroit actually give a shit about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so so they're all we're boycotting. They are striking, right? Frida, and it
And that
also
includes Dorito and stuff like that.
it's a huge company. It includes so many companies. I had no
You don't
idea.
have to
There's
look
like
it up. You can just go off your top of your
no,
head. Yeah.
no. There's so many of them, and thinking like there was an Amazon worker strike earlier, and the Frito now, and like reading the reports of what was going on in just like the conditions, the working conditions being shit, the wages being like shit, and like not even shit, like unlivable, as in folks died on the floor working and just like,
And they made everybody continue working.
yes. And they were
No,
just
no,
like,
yeah.
we're not
Like
doing
that, they
this.
didn't shut down for the day. So I've been looking at that one in particular.
Yeah.
So what people are made to do there, so they work 12-hour shifts, sorry, 7 days a week, and then on a random, they're asked to work like an extra 4 hours. Basically, they'll be asked to like leave at 7 a.m. and come back at like 3 p.m.
Right.
Right, and that's their time off. Their families like are falling apart. Like it's sort of like the stereotype of like cops getting divorced because the job is too rough. Like they're fucking making potato chips, dude. And
And
so yeah, so definitely like that. Anyway, so let's tie this back into collaboration because I don't want to us to go off on a political rant. But I am really excited about Detroit because of this, right? Because
mhm.
I think that there is a labor tradition there that is impressive, and as an outsider, but Ohio as well, right? Like what's Ohio's industry?
Oh, so Ohio, you've got sort of three major cities: Cleveland, which is Rust Belt industry; Columbus, which has like it's more like education, new bank industry. Like there's a bunch of colleges there. Ohio State, one of the biggest in this country, and you've got 8 other smaller schools. So it's really like education heavy in industry. Actually, it's just a big college town with um, major insurance company hubs and bank hubs, and then strangely like Abercrombie, the limited brands, DSW, all of their headquarters are in Columbus. Also like a big fast food hub. So like Wendy's started in Columbus, White Castle's headquarters are in Columbus. So it's just this like, yeah, when I think it's like when you think about Ohio and you're like, what would be in Columbus? It's like Wendy's and Abercrombie, but like the massive headquarters, like that is Columbus.
So then,
Anyway,
do you
and
find that Ohio has a different culture in terms of this, like labor? Like it seems to me that people care a lot about helping each other through times where capitalism is fucked.
yeah,
Right? Like that's the
yeah,
perception I'm getting, especially not from necessarily. I mean, I know Chelsea's work, and I've gotten a sense of Gerald's work,
yep,
and you do some stuff that we can talk about a little bit later. But
yep,
it seems to me like, especially with Knox, what I'm seeing from
yep,
them, and we can maybe introduce them because I'm just abstractly talking about them, but
yeah.
it's Knox Library. I'm really excited to talk about them. When I spoke to the person that my contact there, I forget because she didn't
Daniela,
take. Whoever it was, she didn't take direct credit, so the name is lost.
yeah,
But I was like, hey, I want you on the show, and she was like, we are a collective, but I'm happy to do the show, so I want to acknowledge that, and that tells you a lot about the organization in and of itself, right? So it's important
right.
to acknowledge that, but the idea of that is that something that it like because it sounds like you were saying Columbus is HQs. HQs
Yeah.
may the state with the HQs may not be the most labor, you know.
Well, Cleveland's Rust Belt.
Okay.
And
Do you think that's why they
like,
set up the
yeah, right. It's just like if you look at Lake Erie,
hmm
right? Detroit is at the top, Toledo's right here at the bottom, and then Cleveland's right here. And the three of them were really like Rust Belt industry. But
how does Pittsburgh fit into that?
in Detroit, Toledo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh,
Okay. Am I missing a Rust Belt place?
there are more. But I think that
Those are
when
the
I think of,
main,
yeah,
the
because it
big
goes
five.
over, yeah. And
You don't
in
have to
my
be a scholar.
states,
I'm just
no, yeah.
I just no no. I
In
mean
my states,
I
yeah.
asked about Pittsburgh because their team is called the Steelers, and I know
Yep.
steel rusts. So
Yeah. But I think, I mean, Columbus also has a lot of other industry. Mutual aid is huge there,
do
for
you know? Can
sure.
you help me understand mutual aid a little bit better? Because
Yeah.
I'm just getting familiar with the concept, and I'm throwing it out there, but I don't necessarily like have a full grasp on it.
So when I think about mutual aid, I think
And
about
it's okay if you don't know the actual definition.
I
On
don't,
this
I
show,
don't.
on this show, winged definitions
This
are
is my,
understood. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, this is my sort of way of thinking about mutual aid is sort of like collectively coming together to support each other. So like a mutual aid, an example, like you've seen a ton of examples right now with the floods that just happened in Detroit, and mutual aid being like folks coming together to donate Clorox, mops, trash bags, and then those getting distributed to the community. So I think about it as like a voluntary exchange of goods to help each other, right? It's just, in my mind, it's just us taking care of us, without sort of going through any higher streams. And so I think like Knox, for example, right? They organize a bunch of mutual aid. Um,
They
they
give away
work with
free books, right?
yeah, exactly. They give
Sorry,
away
I
free
didn't mean to
books.
interrupt, but yeah, go
They
ahead.
also do an awesome book club. If you are looking to have really great conversations about books, they do a book club. What I love about their book club is that I actually haven't been able to participate, but I like talk to people about it all of the time. They'll take things that like Society of the Spectacle by Guy Debord, which like feels really heady to read, and you'll read it with them, but also they'll help distribute it for free. In the book club, they really like collaborate with folks to lead the discussions that like know the text, and you break it down together. And
Yeah,
it's not this like, so even the way that they function as an organization, right? It's about yeah, they're doing all of the organizing of the things, but they're sharing the power. And I think when Danielle or whomever from Knox was like, we're a collective and I want to acknowledge it, that's part of that like ethos of mutual
Yeah.
aid, that like it's not just one of us, it's all of us. And it's that collaboration, right? Like Knox is
Well,
a
let me
group
just
of
say real quick,
yeah.
as a tourist and someone who is intoxicated with Detroit, you speak very well of it. So I want to give you your authority. I want to empower you because
Yeah.
you know like I haven't necessarily had conversations directly about Detroit, or I tried to, or not that that was the only thing there was to talk about with Chelsea, but I think as an outsider, it's sort of like talking to somebody who's like, "Why is this place so drawing you in?" Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been in LA so long that I've lost that. Right? Like,
Mm.
I feel like I'm like, why the fuck am I here? It's just suffering, you know. We made homelessness illegal, like
I
literally.
saw that. I did see
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I saw
yeah.
that.
So this is like healing. You've literally made me think like, fuck, maybe that's my next place.
I mean, it's such an awesome place. It's such an awesome place. I
Mm.
really love it here.
But you know
Very,
what? But I will
but
acknowledge
the
that.
winters are tough. The winters are
No, and
tough.
it's an illusion because I moved out here thinking this was going to be a liberal mecca, and then I realized this is like the most right wing fucking place. Like
Yeah.
if people think that COVID is going to like be solved by Democrats, and they didn't see that, you know, like if they're like, oh, it's Republicans, they don't wear masks, like fuck off.
Right?
That's kind of what I'm talking about with people being like they're like holier like, and I just feel like it's like this sense of like this all sucks for everybody,
Yeah.
and in a broader sense life sucks for everybody. It's like who's to say we're better at suffering, right? Like than anybody else, you know.
Yep.
And and sometimes people are just like, oh no, but like let's be hopeful about the system. I'm like, what's that getting us, dude? You know, like.
Mm-mm.
But anyway, sorry, I'm
Well,
just like my hopelessness is coming out. We're
oh,
collaborating on making me feel better.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like mutual aid and collaboration, sort of in my head, go hand in hand, right? In this, where it's like, yeah, no, this traditional structure of care with mutual aid, like, isn't really helping. So we're gonna like do it ourselves, and we're gonna do it in a way that like we're gonna listen to folks and do what they need, you know? And that's, I think, what's so great. Like, I love Knox. I think that they're great, and I will be their hugest fan of it all day.
We don't
They
have to keep
collaborate.
promoting them though.
No,
We can
no,
talk
but
about you a little bit more too. But I do
but
think that
here's
that
the
ethos is
chain, right?
fascinating to us, right?
But the chain of connection, right? Like Knox often works with Gerald. The collaborative group that I'm going to talk about, Bulk Space, that I'm a part of,
And
like,
I was going to ask you about that because it's not going to
oops,
show up in the video, but it's
it's my name.
BSAR,
Yeah.
Bulk Space Artist Residency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoops. But yeah. So I'm a part of Bulk Space. We have worked with Gerald. We have worked with Knox and like love what they do. And so yeah, I just realized my name says
No, you
I'm
shouldn't be embarrassed. It's not going to show up in the recording. You're
in the
fine.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a part of a this collective, Bulk Space. It's awesome. It's
What do you
me and
guys what so how many artists? What like what's the organization like? Are you artist space? Are you a collective that shows at different spaces?
right. So we are a little bit of everything. We are predominant. We have had, will have, in the sort of middle of trying to fix up a physical space. But we started as like an idea, which is yeah, that through the collective effort, we take up more space, and thinking about how we could sort of like take up more space to create more space, to take up more space to create more space, and just the Dova, who's a part of this, used this analogy one time when we were talking about power. She was like, power isn't a ladder, it's a hurricane. And the more folks we get in, the more power we hold. And I just love that. I'm a teacher too. I teach at Wayne State and the College for Creative Studies here. And I went to private grad school, and I like existed. I never really existed in the capital A art world, but I really have in some ways we all do, right? Like when I think about
so
these,
how do you
like,
define capital A art world? Actually, that's I'm curious about that. As someone from Detroit versus someone from LA.
museum shows, the traditional path of success as an artist.
Okay.
So like,
no, so then our capital A is the same. Just curious.
Yeah. And I love making work. I make work about like speculative bodies, and like I'm genderqueer and I have a sensory integration disorder. And so like my body for a bunch of reasons has always been like, I felt weird in it. And
sensory integration disorder. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So
I'm dyslexic, so this all of that
okay.
that resonates. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
And genderqueer is interesting too. I don't want to dismiss that, but like
no, I mean,
but this might be more accessible to me.
so my sensory integration disorder, my sensory inputs sort of misfire, and it for me, it's different for everyone. For me, I got diagnosed when I was in high school. I had to like go to an occupational therapist and play DDR, and they gave me like special body brushes, and like I had to brush my body.
And for the Zoomers,
like,
DDR is Dance Dance Revolution, because that's a millennial thing.
Yeah.
Not that I have a crazy Zoomer
that was
audience.
that was the therapy, where like these dog combs and like to try to just get my body aligned. So it comes into my work, and it like comes into my life. Some ways it's like sometimes I really don't like to be touched, because it's like activating in a way that's like, this is freaking me out. And sometimes I don't know that I'm being touched because my sensory input is like wonky.
Whoa,
So
that's intense, man.
it is.
I can't even like I can sort of like analogize, relate, but not like I didn't even know that was a thing. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it like looks different for different folks, but the way I found out I had it was I grew up on a farm. I grew up around horses. I grew up riding them, and when I was in high school, I was like, I'm too cool for this. I'm not going to be a horse girl. Which
wait, hold on.
Right? All right. And
that's the genderqueer part.
Yeah, exactly. High school me was like, we're too cool, we're not doing this. And I started failing math. And I got like, they were like, what is going on? Like, I honestly loved math. And so whatever, I loved calculus. I love graphing. Anyway, so all of a sudden, getting everything wrong on my Scantrons, but all the work is right. And they were like, what's going on? And it's like part of the sensory disorder was like, I couldn't follow A to B, like not even a little bit. And one of the main therapies.
Wait, you couldn't follow A? Sorry, say that again. You couldn't follow A to B.
Like 1A and then to be like B down here. Like I couldn't go across those little bubble lines. You know what I mean?
I can relate to this part. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so it turned out that one of the therapies for sensory integration disorders is horseback riding, because you You activate so many
So,
different parts of your
what's that
body.
called? That's that therapy that the Christians do.
Right? Oh man.
It's the
Listen.
iron is like, no, you're a girl.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like,
What's that
fuck.
therapy called? It's fucking
Conversion therapy.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, oh, joke's on me. And now I'm playing DDR and brushing myself with soft comb, like soft tooth combs.
So the reason, okay, I to this day still have this problem, and it comes up regularly. I had a girlfriend who looked at it like it was a bar trick or like some like it was like she was amazed by the sensory like problem that was the cause of this, but like I still, if you give me a number with too many digits or a decimal and digits and too many digits, I will say a different number than what it is. And
Yeah.
so for me, dyslexia, and I also had motor coordination problems. I can draw, but I had terrible handwriting. I still have terrible handwriting, right? So when you were talking about the A to B, like if I have to compare two numbers and see if they're the same, I can literally hold them right on top of each other. Like this is one and this is the other. And like, and I'm like, is it the same?
Somebody tell me. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I relate to
right?
that. And going
Yeah.
back to like the collaborative effort, like, oh my God. You know, speaking of collaborative, I actually went on this crazy hike in LA and I found this place that is not to go too off topic, but
No.
it's like it's I'm not gonna say the name because I don't want to like run into anyone that listens to the show, but it's an Angel's Forest and it's this canyon, and basically you have like two directions you can go in, but then there's this like really steep hike in, and I was trying to find a shortcut because I like the chill part that you can go
Right.
for a while, and I was hoping I could just climb down there's like a waterfall, but right now it's dry. So I was hoping I could do that. So I went, I had a great time. I did my hike. I was like, "Oh man, I worked extra, so I'm going to try to take this shortcut and all of that."
Yep.
And basically what I ended up was and I followed someone else, right? I wouldn't have done it by myself because that's the fucking dumbest shit. Like, right? Like to go, "Oh, let me go explore by myself." And if I get
Down
fucking
this dry waterfall.
yeah. So like these guys were already up there. I climbed and I was like, I went up there. They ended up passing me. And we ended up like there was this point where I just got frustrated. I was like, "This isn't a fucking shortcut. I'm just stuck in another canyon that has no way out." And then the fucking anxiety of like coming back. But
Yep.
the reason I bring it up is that like I saw them and I checked in with them because they had passed me because I had taken a break because I was fucking exhausted after the climb. Mind you, I'm taking a shortcut. And so I get to the end of it and I'm saying hi to them. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back. And I get disoriented because there's a place where it's like, it's kind of hard to figure out if you're going or coming, right?
Yep.
And I got turned around and I'm exhausted, right? And I'm like, fuck, I'm lost. And I'm like, well, these guys aren't that far. And these other
Yep.
people aren't that far. So I'm like, help! I'm lost at the top of my fucking lungs.
Oh shit.
Nobody heard me.
Oh shit.
And I did it again. And I think I did it like 3 or 4 times. And I was like, let's not freak myself out by realizing how alone I am. And I just walked the way that I thought. And I came back to them. And then as I was coming down, climbing back down the waterfall, I didn't stumble, but like it looked like I stumbled because I was putting on my backpack, and the people down at the bottom of the waterfall were freaked out. They were like, "Oh!" They thought I was gonna fall. And
They were
I
like
got down, I was
totally
like,
ready to catch you.
yeah, and I was like, "Dude, you have no idea. That wasn't even the scary part for me." I was like,
You're like, I just got lost.
yeah, and I was like, I was yelling out, and it's like, you guys caught me thinking that I was like an asshole, and you just didn't know what, like, you caught me at the wrong part of how much of an asshole I was being. You know?
Like,
But
you
like
have
the
no
mutual
idea what
aid,
I
like
just went through.
the comfort, like of just like being out there and being like, hey guys, I was so fucking alone.
Being like, no, yeah, here we go. You're not alone in that.
Yeah, it's the closest thing to the other close thing is sort of like, and not to get religious, but it's like when you're like at your fucking lowest and you just reach out to like the void and you're like, please don't fuck me anymore.
I also grew up Catholic, so yes.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Did I bring up that I was Catholic, or could you
oh
just tell?
no. When you said reach out to the void and you actually reached out to the void, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a rosary in those hands.
Touche.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't. I have crucifixes that I can't throw out, even though I don't believe anymore. Anyway, you were saying you were Catholic?
I have a Mary statue in my backyard with a rosary around it that like is one of those rosaries I got when I was younger. They were like, this one's from the Vatican. And I was like, I guess it's been touched by a pope and I can't ever throw it out. So I just like bring it with me. And I'm not a believer. No.
That's
a
another
conversation for another podcast.
No, we still got time, man. I'm actually gonna dig because we're both Catholic. I'm Roman Catholic in Rome, so I had I used to go to the Vatican. It's Christian art and Catholic art specifically. Yep. I say Christian art a lot of time because I think of that as Christian art, but like in American, it's Catholic, right?
But
because it's not Protestant, and like over here, like we're weirdos for the way we were raised. But, like, do you how do you think it has affected you as a non-practicing Catholic? Because it ties into our concept of mutual aid, community, collaboration, belief as collaboration, right? Like
it does.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. Why I was like, this is for another podcast, is I have a really complicated relationship with religion and faith.
You don't have to go
Catholic.
that deep.
No, but just my answer needs this. Was raised Catholic and Lutheran, and at some point ended up in another more shaky cult-like situation. And so this idea of mutual aid is also like, we keep us safe. Like, and I think that goes into Catholicism, where it's like, you go to church, and at least in my growing up with it, it was like, you have faith and trust in the people around you. And also, the church I grew up in was also like, and you do good. And I was like, but why do you get to define that for me? You know? Because I also was like closeted and gay, and they were like, no, not today. And I was like, says who? You know? As I think, and like at our school, I went to Catholic school also, so it's like we had to wear jumpers. Mm-hmm. One of my friends in high school was in the middle of transitioning, and they made him wear a wig. They made him wear a Marilyn Monroe wig around school because by wearing pants, he was improper in like not his proper uniform, because we were supposed to be wearing our jumpers. So they made him wear a wig. So
transitioning, what direction was the transition going? Just so that I understand
Female to male. Female to male.
Female to male. And then they were making them conform. I'm going to use them because I don't know the proper pronoun. But they were, okay.
They were misgendering him. Yeah, they were misgendering him by putting him in a wig and a jumper.
To the biological, like they were imposing biology on him.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's appropriate, but those are the words that came out.
Yeah.
I'm I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm trying. I definitely
right. Like that's all. I think for me, that's all I'm doing too, right? Is just trying to
No, no, no,
like
no, no.
figure it out.
I have sympathy for the person's situation. So
Yeah,
like again, my whole point is to humanize people, Republican
right.
or
Well,
not,
well,
right? Like,
this is the whole thing for me. Is it's like even in those situations, like I share that story because we are friends still, and he is like, yeah, when you talk about your relationship to this school, the school we went to has like a super close alumni pool, and everyone from high school still, a lot of them still hang out, and I'm still friends with those folks too. But it's like, again, there's this narrative about community that didn't exist as true for me.
no,
So
that's interesting. Yeah, and it ties into that. Yeah,
it's
so there's
all coming back.
illusory community, right? And it's also interesting. I'm not trying to draw a parallel between this,
Mhm.
but to some extent, there is something relational to, like, how do I say this? Even in the Knox situation, the impulse, like the Knox library situation, the impulse is to have someone help you understand a text, right?
Mhm.
I think in the Knox situation, it's more contemporarily relevant,
Mhm.
right? So like if I'm making a moral judgment, I think there's more help
Mhm.
involved in the Knox library situation, right? I'm not equating the two, but I do think that there is there is that element of like following leadership, right? Like I don't want to fucking be the one that knocks down all the doors. I want to follow that push, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be Martin Luther King. Not that I could be, but you get what I'm saying? Like it didn't work out.
But this is the thing about Knox is it's not just, and I love that I'm so excited to listen to them talk after me talking so much
I'm
about them.
super excited. Like you can
But
tell.
but this is the thing about them is it's like they're collectively deciding, right? Like
Yes.
it's not just like follow the leader blindly. It's like they're collectively deciding like who are we going to listen today to facilitate something, also not to like teach you in the traditional ways of teaching, right? So it's like they really work within, and this is something like at bulk space, right? I said like we're creating space, and it's part of the reason I love what they do, because I love the way they create and hold space for folks to just like come as they are, like show up at a park, get a free book.
Yeah.
Like there's this text that everyone has told you you're supposed to get, you don't get it. Let's like,
Oh no
do
no
you
no
want,
no! I
but
totally,
like,
dude. I mean I am just like if Knox Space is doing anything, I am just as guilty of it, right? Like
oh
it's
no, I
sort
think,
yeah no 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 no. I just kind of want to like go back to some of the other stuff that we're talking about without
yeah,
getting like without sort of putting it on Knox and equating and just to reclarify that I'm not equating
yeah,
them to religion, but like
yeah.
what I'm saying is that like I'm not saying I'm actually humanizing the people that want to learn. Like
Mhm.
I put the people that want to understand the things that Knox are explaining the same way as I put the same place that I would put like a Scientologist, right? Like it's the onus, like if someone's selling you something and you like, okay, buyer beware, yeah, and all of that, but at the same time, like there's a lot of different things that can sell you on shit, right? Like I
Mhm.
don't agree with everybody from my culture politically, right? So I
For
just
sure.
want to be clear about that.
Oh
Like
no.
I think that what I think that the point that I'm more trying to make, and actually the transition that I'm trying to make, my smooth face came on, is
Yeah.
I want to talk about the cult because there's cultish tendencies in my Catholic family as well, so I want to
Mhm.
discuss that. But so I don't think Knox Library is a cult.
They're absolutely not, because it's,
No,
yeah.
but what I'm saying, what
Oh my God, I can't believe this is how we
the
got to these people that I love so much. I'm like, no, they're definitely not a cult. I
No, 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 no,
promise.
no, 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 no. But what I'm saying is a human and reasonable thing is to want to rely on other people's expertise for insight. And I think
Mhm.
that, on a very profound level, is what the issues that we're having even with COVID right now. Because
Yep.
you know, who the fuck knows what? Like right now in LA County, the sheriff isn't enforcing the fucking law. You're right, like the
Yep.
state mandate because the CDC isn't enforcing it. But like, you know, like it just gets so fucking weird. So
Yep.
so all I'm saying is like the the desire to have someone tell you how to understand things or cliff notes things or summarize things is very human.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's the whole thing, right? Like the going back to being at Catholic school or thinking
and and
about
and leaning into
family
cults
and
because I want to
leaning
talk
into
about that. I'm a
cults.
huge cult aficionado.
Yeah. And thinking about the way like it is superhuman to want to know. It is superhuman to like acknowledge like I don't know, someone teach me. And there are people that will empower you to like to learn and question and like to not control your learning, you know? And then there are people like cults that will see your hunger to learn and capitalize on it. I think about like psychic vampires, like people that come to you and just drain you your energy, right? They're not like you're like, how am I so tired after spending 15 minutes with you? How do you know what I'm
Oh
talking about?
God,
And it's like,
coworkers.
yeah, right. But it's also like, so yeah, I think that's for me, that's one of the main differences. But yeah, you know, cults
But I
are a
think
spectrum too.
but I think it's part of that spectrum of the collaboration, right? Because it ties into groupthink and it goes into that sort of like that the belief system that boomers have. Now, I'm not
All right.
saying. Okay,
No,
okay, go ahead.
this is that good shit. Okay,
All right. Oh, okay, you're into it.
as
Okay,
someone
I
that
thought you were going to disagree. Go ahead.
fully as someone that like fully believes in collaboration and also as someone that like was actually in a cult where like my finances were controlled. I yeah.
Oh, you're coming back on the show. I'm booking you like next month, dude. I
Okay.
seriously. Oh no, you're coming back. You're coming back, and we're
So
talking Colts. That's it.
okay,
You're booked. Go
we can
ahead.
do it. We can do it. I would love to. So, as someone that was in a cult and as someone that firmly believes in collaboration, let me talk to you about the differences.
No, but I
But
mean,
like actually, right? Like I
but there's a
think that
collaborative sense of creating reality in cults, and there is a
exactly.
leadership. But I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish, like Kanye. But
But
go ahead.
but within collaboration and within like you show up as fully yourself and
Ah.
like you're not controlled, like maybe you're held accountable but you're not. um and this was also why I was like, my time at Cranbrook was kind of weird because I was like, this feels like a cult. It's an institution that everyone believes in and like we're all here having a great time and we're living on an English hillside, but I thought I was moving to Detroit. Like my reality is totally shifted. But working in collaboration, the way I think about collaboration is also like I collaborate with a lot with this artist, Kara Goot. We went to college together. We actually went to grad school together. We make work together. And when we have collaborative exhibitions, I show work that I just made. Kara shows work that she just made. And then we show some pieces that we made together, or like who made it is a little blurry, but we always have our own work within like our own clearly distinct pieces in conversation with each other as part of the collaboration. And so in like even in collaborative making, when I make, it's like you show up as yourself. And maybe sometimes within collaboration it is to like attempt to have a singular voice. or like to create a piece that is ours together. But I think a lot that like the power in collaboration again comes to that idea that like when one of us does well, we're all doing well. And it's like this thing that starts to happen where when you like remove competition and you start collaborating, like Kara got a grant. So Kara paid me to do some work, which got me some other work. So I hired her to do something else. And it's like, again, different sort of mutual aid, right? But like, and that's collaborative, but not like in a cult. When
Well, it sounds like the main distinction sounds to me, from what you're saying, is
Mhm.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries,
Yep.
like so implied in that, which is another separation. Sorry, I'm getting
Yeah. Go.
texted. No, 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 no. It's just loud. I don't have to answer it. I'm like
Yeah.
just annoyed and interrupted. It sounds to me like the main difference is that, all right, like there needs to be some level of like personhood to be able to
Mhm.
collaborate to begin with, right? Like
Mhm.
some sense of identity and sense of being able to set your own boundaries, which is going back, like to tie this in back into the difference between Knox and Colts,
Yeah.
to like dig myself out of that hole. Oh, my camera is
Is it
doing weird
overheating?
shit. I don't know.
Oh, you look like a like VR room right now.
Yeah, I think it did overheat.
Oh no.
Yeah, it keeps shutting off. We can just finish the conversation like this. I'll put a
Okay.
picture of me. Oh, there I am.
Yeah, you're back.
So, sorry, what were we saying?
Okay.
Oh,
We
okay, the difference
were.
between Knox and Colts. Like
You're
I'm,
gonna
I'm,
make me laugh
I'm,
every time.
I'm poking fun, obviously.
Yeah, I know.
I essentially what I'm saying when I say the difference between Knox and Colts is the difference between a labor party, like a
Yep.
difference between what's it called, socialism, essentially, because right, like, and I think that all right, actually, that's a good transition to make a point that I like to make is that I think that going back to the thing about being a Cuban person who understands the plight of the Cuban Republican, and that the fact, before I make the broader point, my grandfather was a person who owned um, a abono, fertilizer factory, right? And he ran this thing for years. He built it up for himself. He was a capitalist, right? He married my grandmother, who was the daughter of a judge. So aristocracy, right? Like straight up, they were the Republicans of Cuba anyway.
Mhm.
When the revolution started, they were into it. They bought into it. They were excited about it, right? Because there was a lot of corruption in government. I don't know that's me making a leap from them telling me, yeah, no, we
Yep.
were we were into it. Then it took a turn. My grandfather, who's passed away. My grandmother is turning 98 today at the time of this recording, so I need to call her after this, and it's on the
Happy
schedule.
birthday.
Yeah. So my grandfather, when the government took over, he became subordinate to another guy, right? And the other guy was in charge now of doing of like running the fertilizer factory. So the guy didn't have any experience. He fucked up, and he put all the fertilizer or he put all the chemicals without sifting through them, and it fucked the whole crop of fertilizer. My grandfather told him, "No, you got to do it like this." He was like, "Ah, nah, fuck you." My grandfather was telling him how to run his own business,
Hmm.
right? And I was like, and then my mom told me this when she was telling me the story. She was like, "Hey," so and then they prosecuted the guy, And I was like, oh my God, they prosecuted him for being incompetent. And I was like, no, and she was like, no, they prosecuted him for sabotage. Right? So nobody is saying that the Cuban government system was perfect, right? It's a small island that took on the most powerful fucking country after World War II. Nobody is making that point. But my understanding of the situation is that as long as you always have somebody that you can bribe, right? You're still in the capitalist system.
Mm.
So, like, as long as the US can always bribe someone in Cuba, Cuba is going to be Cuba. It's same thing with Venezuela.
Yeah.
Regime change, all of that shit. They were trying to make a drone airplane. The CIA. We don't have to get into that. But going back into the Knox Library, I think in these movements there is a difficulty in keeping those boundaries because then you also have things like. What is it called? Agent provocateurs that infiltrate,
Mm.
and then they fucking corrupt the whole system, right? So
Mm.
no matter what, like the idea that we've ever had a communist system is kind of crazy to me because there's always capitalist incentive. You can always pay someone to fuck some shit up. And so for me, Knox Library is pure because all they're doing is spreading books. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, how are
Yeah.
they going to corrupt
Well,
that?
and they're spreading books, they're doing mutual aid, and also like it's small. I think also when I think about mutual aid, I think about small scale, right? It's like not like
Like, not an NGO who
right.
people get like $100,000 salaries to keep themselves relevant by not solving the fucking problems. I just saw an interview with Jimmy Dore where Joe Rogan was telling Jimmy Dore about this guy that was saying that the reason that we don't solve the problem of homelessness in Los Angeles is because there's people that make six-figure salaries. And I'm like, holy shit! And there's like, the UN talks about NGOs being corrupted. So it's an interesting. This has gotten really interesting because you're fascinated with that Detroit thing, that Detroit spirit, because there is this like fine line between like how do you keep it from being corrupted, like we are still in a capitalist system. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have that answer.
no, I wasn't asking it to you. I'm just saying like
So
that's the space where we ended up, which is fascinating.
right. I mean, this comes
And we're going
back
to talk
to
about
like
cults in the future.
we are going to talk about cults in the
What cult
future.
was it? Can you say it? If you say Children of God, I'm going to fucking
It
freak
wasn't
out.
Children of God.
Jesus Christ, thank God.
It wasn't Children of God. It's
Let
not
me
what you've
volunteer.
heard of.
Let me volunteer before you dive in, because
Yeah.
my dad was a follower of Yogananda and I still see people post his wisdom, and my mom fought really hard to keep me separate from that shit. My dad played a tape of his for one time, and like it turned out when I grew up he was sending him money and not telling her. Anyway, go ahead. What cult experience did you have growing up?
I'm I'm like I'm about to get so shredded. It's this church in Columbus, Ohio called Xenos. They just changed their name to
Called what?
Dwell. Xenos, it means alien in Greek. Listen,
Okay.
it should have been a sign. Uh, but when you're bipolar, I'm also bipolar, and
What's up, brethren? I'm not bipolar, but I'm OCD, so.
yeah, right? Like, so when you're like, what's real? And someone's like, it's this church that means alien, and you're chosen for it, and you're
Did your
like,
parents join this or you did this?
no, I did this.
Okay,
My dumbass did this
don't get
myself.
You're not going to get shredded because I did the landmark forum, and I that's why I understand this shit. All right,
Yep.
I have been sucked into this stuff too. There are moments in your life where you're in a corporate shitty job, and
Yep.
life looks like it's not going anywhere, and you try to
Yep.
find meaning, and you haven't discovered art fully yet.
Yep. Well, this is the thing that's so insidious about it is it's embedded in Columbus's punk community.
What? Say that
It's
again.
embedded. There is a
Rephrase that.
religious cult embedded in Columbus, Ohio's punk community.
Punk. Okay.
Punk community, the house show scene, and It was 2005, so we were throwing alley cat bike races.
What's a alley cat bike race?
It's a bike race. It's like a scavenger hunt meets bike race. So it's like you get a bunch of points. You got to get to like the donut shop, the bar, the park, and whoever does it the fastest wins.
All right. How well versed are you on cults in general?
Fairly.
So you know like about Jonestown and all of that?
Yeah.
So if we just I'm scheduling it right now and I'm teasing it right now.
Yeah.
If we do an episode on cults, are you comfortable us just shooting the shit without any preparation? Because
Yeah,
I'm trying to
absolutely.
I'm down to like schedule it in September. Is that
I'm
cool?
down. I'm super down. Yeah, because this is also like cults are a spectrum. Like I had financial control. I lived in a 4-bedroom house with 12 girls. We got double bunk beds up in that house. God put his thumb
You better
on me.
fucking believe I'm gonna look up your cult, man. What is it? Xenon?
It's Xenos. So they just changed their name to Dwell. Look up Xenos as a cult. There's
How do you spell
literally
it?
a website. Xenos.
Oh my god. You have given me so much. I can't even tell you. Your life experience is so fucking exciting to me.
Yeah.
Xenos Christian Fellowship, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, and I'm not even like, dude. I'm not teasing you at all. I'm not like this is not at all condescension. I'm fascinated by this because I have also been manipulated. I know that my father has as well, and to me it's fascinating because, we talked about it being about decentralization, and that's kind of how Landmark was. Sometimes it's a cult of personality, sometimes it's not. But there was also just the Nexium thing that happened recently. You know about that?
Yeah, I do know about that.
So like, if you're into it, like, dude, no judgment. I'm corrupted by Catholicism anyway, right? And I totally understand what pulls you in, and I think it's super helpful to like have these conversations because it's fucking crazy. Like, dude, so many things are cults.
Right. Well, this is also the thing. Like, this is why I think about this as a teacher all of the time. And I'm like, okay, how do I not control this education? Right? Like, oh shit, any position now that I have power in, I'm like hella aware of it. In like teaching positions and even within bulk space, not just because I was in a cult, but like I think collectively we kind of try to lay low and just like
do you ever get in situations where you're like, oh, this motherfucker, he doesn't fit, where it's like, oh, this guy wants to take control, because there's always that fucking danger. Jim Jones is always looking like, so if you look, one of the things
that there's 5 of us when we're not
no, I'm teasing. I just meant in general when you're not like whenever you're in a, like, let's say an art talk, just to keep it super broad, like you go to an art talk and you're like, oh, that guy is like fucking crazy cult of personality guy.
Yeah. Or you're at the bar and you're like, and like this person starts talking to me and I'm like, I'm more well-versed in this than you. I'm going to depart this situation because I'm not fucking buying it, like, but yeah, I have a friend that I joke with that I'm like, you could be a cult leader if you wanted. I'm like, I was in one, so I can tell you how.
Well, I started a podcast and it barely has listenership, so obviously I couldn't start a cult. But maybe with time I can get or actually maybe my content should be more about like your life and how I can get in your brain and how you could feel better about yourself if you just watch the show. Like, watch What's My Thesis, because it's a question. It's not an answer. Oh shit, maybe I am good at it.
I was just about to say, you had double fingers on that one. Yeah.
All right. I've had a lovely time with you. I don't want to keep you too long because right now I know I have a million fucking questions. I feel like we hit on the. I feel like we started a talk about collaboration. I feel like I trust that you can handle my bullshit because you've looked at some of my stories and you know
Yep.
how full of shit I am.
Yep.
So I feel like we hit on a pretty good, broad, mutual, like interest spectrum
Yeah.
where we have a complete episode with plenty more to cover. And I'm gonna end the recording right now. I'm gonna say
Cool.
goodbye to the guests. And then I'm going to book you for September because I'm a little behind on booking, and I definitely want to have this episode.
You want to have this episode?
The episode about cults. Oh God, it is.
Yes.
I love true crime in general, but man, cult is like I maybe because it has a person. Maybe because I've never been close to murdered or raped, but like I have been close to like convinced that I should give all my money to an organization. Like my when I was like 20 something, my dad bailed me out of that shit. He paid my debt on them, and it wasn't like Scientology debt. It was only like $2,000. But like, bro, I just started my fucking working career. That's a lot to just fucking that's a
lot of
laptop.
money. Yeah.
So
You're like-
I want you to know that like we have an understanding. This is not
Yep.
like I want to have this crazy bitch on so that I can tell her how she's like. No, it's like yo, and that's kind of my interest in true crime in general, right? Like
Yep.
just the idea of like we try to define humanity as this pure thing, but it's not. It's fucking base and animal. And anyway,
Well-
on that note, say something and then. Oh, do you want to promote some stuff? Sorry.
I'll promote it next time. We're gonna talk about cults, and then I'll promote some stuff.
Your cult?
Bulk makes books. Yeah.
Bulk mixed books. Okay, it's gonna be ready by then. What's your Instagram?
Mine is at Clare Gatto, and Bulk's is at Bulk.
And then I will be
_space.
promoting them on our Instagram, which is at. I was gonna say my company's name because I have it so ingrained in my brain, which is the problem. That's another cult.
Right? Wait, hold on. I'm like, wait, did I just say the wrong Instagram? Hold on.
No, I was gonna say like literally my employer's name because I type it out so many times. We're at what's my thesis, which is the question that you should come to a meeting to have answered.
There are no answers here, only questions.
You should come answer it for yourself.
There you go. We're on to something.
Dude, actually, you know what? Next episode, come back next episode with Clare Gatto. Gatto, not Gatto. Gatto, which is not the Spanish
I'm from
pronunciation.
Ohio, so I just straight up say Gatto. Like
Gatto, like it's a gun. That's a Spanish gun. I'm gonna shoot you with my Gatto. All right, and check us out next week. Thank you for listening.